Hi, I want to talk to you about an issue which I believe is the most important in guitar playing. And I think by giving some attention to this issue, your guitar playing is radically going to change for the better. And that issue is the approach of the left hand fingers. A lot of people talk about positioning of the left hand and placement of the left hand fingers, but very few people talk about the approach of the left hand. In fact, I've never heard anybody talk about it. Here's the normal approach. A fixed tip joint and a fixed middle joint and a lot of movement from the knuckle joint. So you get this kind of thing happening to play the guitar. I believe that produces a lot of tension in the left hand. I believe it's very inaccurate. It's like jumping off a cliff onto a tightrope, and also tends to sometimes pull the string out of tune. So the alternative is this: coming down under the string and hooking your finger underneath the string right next to the fret wire. Doing so allows you to maintain flexion from the tip joint, flexion from the middle, and flexion from the knuckle joint. So your finger becomes almost like this pogo stick. It's very flexible. And that flexibility, meeting the immobile fingerboard supported by your thumb, allows you to depress the string with virtually no tension at all. Now, I don't want to talk about placement, but I do want to encourage you to place on that fleshy part of the finger and not on the tip where the bone is. But that's secondary in my conversation tonight to thinking about your approach to the string, coming underneath the string and hooking. It's so much easier to be accurate when you play guitar coming under the string like that. One of my students made the analogy of a jet fighter coming into an aircraft carrier. When they do that, the plane comes in and the tail hooks onto one of four arresting wires, and that stops the plane from going over the edge. Well, that's kind of what your fingers are doing. They're coming underneath the string, hooking under the string, and then stopping. So to re-articulate this from a slightly different angle, we've got the knuckle joint, the middle joint, and the tip joint. Most guitarists, I think, keep the middle and tip joints fairly stiff and flex primarily from the knuckle joint when they're playing notes. What we're proposing, by contrast, is to work a little bit from each of these three joints. So here comes the jet plane in and to the landing strip, catches on the arresting wire, and the flexibility of these three joints in conjunction with each other is generally enough pressure to get the note. I'm no longer hammering on to my ascending slurs, I'm hammering up. I'm no longer pulling off for a descending slur, I'm pulling down. And that flexibility from those three joints allows me to have really nice pull-offs. Again, I believe this has some really promising potential for your guitar playing. Now remember, with guitar there's never and always, but there's always a usually, and there's always exceptions. We can talk about those below if you want to. I'll see you at the lesson.